Buenas tardes, bienvenidos al Festival de Capstone del Departamento de Humanidades y Comunicación, otoño de 2025. Mi nombre es Yvette y seré su maestra de ceremonias en español. Le podemos, le pedimos que se sienten en los asientos al frente.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Department of Humanities and Communication Fall 25 Capstone Festival. My name is Alexandra, and I will serve as the English-speaking Master of Ceremonies. Please take a seat close to the stage.
Le queremos agradecer a los estudiantes, familiares y amigos que nos acompañan el día de hoy, en persona o a través de Zoom. Igualmente, gracias a todos los profesores y el personal de la Universidad Estatal de California de la Bahía de Monterrey por sus compromisos con la visión de la universidad.
Now we would like to thank the students, families, and friends who have joined us today in person and via Zoom. Equally so, we wish to thank the faculty and staff of California State University, Monterey Bay for their commitment to the CSUMB vision.
Los proyectos de Capstone que ustedes verán hoy reflejan el trabajo académico de los estudiantes y del programa de Humanidades y Comunicación. En estos proyectos hemos puesto nuestro esfuerzo por eliminar temas de nuestro interés. Los resultados demuestran nuestro crecimiento intelectual y personal y reflejan el apoyo de nuestros profesores.
The capstone projects you will see today reflect the academic work of students majoring in humanities and communication. They are a representation of our effort to bring to light issues we are passionate about. These projects represent our intellectual and personal growth and reflect the support of our professors.
Este año tenemos dos secciones del curso de Capstone. Una sección se dedicó a explorar el tema Poder, Privilegio y Lugar, dirigido por la doctora Kelly Medina López. El segundo tema es Nuestras vidas digitales, guiado por la doctora Estela Porras. Los estudiantes han tenido la opción de explorar en estos temas haciendo un trabajo de investigación o realizando un proyecto creativo.
This semester, we have two sections of our senior capstone course. Each section has devoted its efforts to explore a particular theme. The first theme is Power, Privilege, and Place, led by Dr. Kelly Medina Lopez. The second theme is Our Digital Lives, led by Dr. Estela Porres. Students in each section have been led to explore these themes by working on a research paper or a creative project.
Nuestro festival incluye una sesión de presentaciones cortas para darles una idea de los temas explorados y una sesión de videos, una combinación de TED Talks y TikTok que hemos llamado TikToks. En el intermedio, ustedes podrán conversar con los estudiantes sobre sus proyectos.
Our festival includes a panel session with short presentations to give you an overview of the topics explored, and a video session, a combination of TED Talk and TikTok, which we've called TikToks. During the intermission, you'll have the opportunity to talk with the students about their projects.
Y ahora nos da gusto invitar al director del Departamento de Humanidades y Comunicación, el doctor Fang Nguyen, para darle la bienvenida al Festival de Capstone, otoño de 2025.
And now we would like to invite the chair of the Department of Humanities and Communication, Dr. Fong Nguyen, to personally welcome you to the Fall 2025 Capstone Festival.
Good morning. My name is Phuong Nguyen, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to our HCOM Capstone Festival. I've been at CSUMB for over 8 years now, and in that time, we've seen students present on a whole range of topics. But no matter the topics, our HCOM students come to their projects with the same important set of values that will serve them well no matter what career they pursue. These are the values of community, collaboration, critical thinking, and care. And it's not just because we're in the humanities that this matters to us. In last week's Los Angeles Times, a professor from the University of Southern California's Business School wrote that if colleges want to remain relevant in the 21st century, they will have to address two major issues on the minds of our youth: artificial intelligence and the loneliness epidemic. AI because it threatens to take all our jobs, and loneliness because it's a track we've been on for a long time that's gotten a lot worse in the age of the internet. We have often heard that the solution to artificial intelligence is simply to steer our youth into high-paying jobs that AI can't take, like plumbers, electricians, and construction workers. But that path won't help with the loneliness epidemic, when, as this professor notes, nearly 3/4 of 16 to 24-year-olds report feeling lonely, and young adults have now spent 70% less time in person with friends compared with just 2 decades ago. The share of U.S. adults with no close friends has quadrupled since 1990. It is the college experience that can lead the way forward here, because, as the article from the LA Times also says, universities still offer the rarest commodity in modern life: sustained face-to-face contact with a diverse group of peers at a critical period of development. And a major like humanities and communication is well positioned to equip students with these values that future employers and friends want more than ever, whether it's building trust, working together as a team, communicating more clearly, or building a culture that brings people together and helps us reach our full potential. A successful grade or grad will not only need to be book smart, but also life smart, which is something universities will have to spend more time training us in. In this day and age, we can't just leave it to chance that people will be well-adjusted, ethical, and kind. These qualities are too important for us to live without. That's why I often say that the most important skill for any doctor is the ability to deliver bad news with empathy, patience, compassion, and connection. That's why an investment banker said to me the most important part of his job was building trust and rapport with clients who otherwise have many options for where to invest their money. Connection is such an important yet underrated component of our educational experience today. So please take advantage of these opportunities to connect today. Please take time to ask questions during Q&A, during intermission, and don't forget to take pictures with each other afterwards, because for these connections to last, we have to make the effort, however risky it may be, to make those connections in the first place. Thank you very much.
Gracias, doctor Nguyen, por sus palabras de bienvenida. Y ahora vamos a introducir nuestro primer grupo de presentaciones sobre el tema Nuestras vidas digitales, liderado por la profesora Estela Porras.
Thank you, Dr. Nguyen, for your welcome. And now we would like to begin the presentations from the section that explored the theme, Our Digital Lives, led by Professor Estela Porras.
Le damos la bienvenida a los estudiantes en la primera ronda de presentaciones.
Now we start the first round of presenters. Welcome to the stage, Catherine Bitter.
Hello, everyone. My name is Catherine Bitter, and my project was The Dirty Truth Behind the Clean Girl, a semiotic analysis of the clean girl aesthetic on TikTok. Aesthetics can be a fun way to express yourself online. But what happens when expression becomes exclusion? My project is a case study of the clean girl aesthetic on TikTok and the way that this aesthetic creates an exclusionary environment online. For some background, the clean girl aesthetic is an internet aesthetic with stylistic elements such as a slicked back bun hairstyle, gold jewelry, and minimalist fashion in neutral colors, as you can see in this picture. It also promoted a lifestyle focused on wellness activities such as skincare and exercise. This trend became popular on TikTok around 2021. However, this trend is problematic because it involves mostly white creators appropriating styles that were created by Black and Latina women and have been popular with these groups for decades. By studying TikTok posts from the lenses of semiotics and the theory of representation, I investigated how internet aesthetics, such as the clean girl, create an exclusionary environment in internet culture through cultural appropriation, the promotion of Eurocentric beauty standards, and classist undertones. In this case study, I examined select videos under the Clean Girl hashtag on TikTok that exemplify how this trend presents ideals of beauty and class, as well as those that point out how the roots of this trend are rooted in Black and Latina communities. The signs that are presented in this content construct the clean girl in an unattainable way that excludes a large number of women from participation based on their experience, their appearance, self-expression, and economic class. When trends such as the clean girl become popular online, they have the power to change how people think and act. This is important because the clean girl aesthetic promotes ideals with classist and racist undertones, so it has the potential to normalize these harmful ideas in society. Thank you. And coming to the stage next is Yvette with her presentation.
Hello, I'm Yvette Ponce, and the title of my project is Hidden Harm with Visible Impact: Cyber Harassment Towards Women and Tools to Resist It. Imagine this: you are a woman, you are posting on Facebook or Instagram and suddenly receive unwanted requests from an unknown account. You ignore them, but the messages keep coming and soon become threats to your safety. Your personal information has been exposed. Now your private life, location, contacts are all at reach of strangers, and malicious individuals will be able to use it against you. Insults, threats, and humiliation based on one's gender are part of the reality faced by many women who simply want to take part in online spaces. Cyber harassment towards women is a form of gender-based violence that adds to other forms of control of women's lives. It can take the form of doxing, cyberstalking, and non-consensual sharing of intimate images. In my study, I explored why and how cyber harassment happened and what resources and tools can help women fight misogyny in online spaces. I use feminist theory to explore how gender-based violence disproportionately diminishes women's safety and limits their online presence and expression. These acts intend to keep women in a subordinate position by intimidating and keeping them silent. I discussed the cases of several women, one a critic of online games, a few journalists, and a politician, all of whom had spoken up against online harassment. They have been accused of victim blaming and punished with sexual threats and doxing. While social media platforms have taken some steps in addressing misconduct, there are no sufficient and consistent measures that guarantee women to be safe. However, there are resources emerging from nonprofit organizations led by women. That's the case of Delimi, a tool designed to protect female journalists from doxing. There is also an advance of new legislation from doxing that protect online users, mainly women and minors, from AI-generated sexual images and the practice of revenge porn. Ultimately, although new laws and tools will help, real transformation will happen until women are fully seen, heard, and respected online and offline. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Leslie Pacheco, and my project is titled Talking Back to the Bot: Artificial Intelligence and the Human Connection. We are the first generation to learn alongside artificial intelligence, tools that can create, write, explain, and even correct us. But as AI becomes stronger, we must ask ourselves, is the human connection becoming weaker? I wanted to understand how AI being introduced is affecting the way we interact in social and professional settings. I wanted to see how this will affect our future endeavors and how it has maybe already changed the way we see each other and the world. I went into this as someone who started college not knowing that AI could do so much, and now seeing it be implemented into every aspect of my life. I decided to dig deeper into how artificial intelligence is affecting creativity and communication between professors, our friends, our work, and discovered it may be harming more than helping, as it is advertised to us. The AI I focused on was language models. These are bots that you're able to give prompts to and receive answers to practically anything you tell it. I found that some communities, such as musical and artistic creatives, are struggling to accept these new changes, but that students are more inclined to use it as it's helping them get through stressful times in school. I've experienced seeing colleagues of mine also treat these chats like a therapist. sorry. I found that some find it easier to communicate, while others are finding it harder now that they're getting used to only communicating with the AI bots. As AI becomes more embedded in our classrooms, our friendships, and even our emotional lives, we have to ask ourselves, are we using these tools to communicate better or to avoid communicating at all? And most importantly, as technology continues to evolve, how do we make sure that we don't lose the human connection that makes our voices, stories, and struggles meaningful in the first place? Connection is built through effort, vulnerability, and imperfect communication. Things many of us are learning to outsource through AI. While language models can offer quick responses and temporary comfort, they cannot replace the shared experiences, emotions, and the human presence that form real relationships. As AI becomes more popular in our academic and social lives, we must be careful not to trade genuine connection for convenience. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Darcy Evans, and my senior capstone project is titled Chalant versus Nonchalant, Online Culture and Youth Hyperconsciousness. Post by Twitter user Negra Esoterica reads, people are so crippled by their past hurt and baggage, and we're all also slaves to the invisible panopticon of surveillance culture to the point where we're scared of being genuine because it might be perceived as cringe. ... Deadly combo for the human race, TBH. The invisible panopticon being referred to is also known as the digital panopticon. The digital panopticon is a lens applied to Jeremy Bentham's panopticon, a conceptual prison design created in the late 18th century intended to promote inmate reformation through the principle of constant surveillance. In a world where our every move can be viewed by anyone anywhere in the world, people can find themselves feeling judged and paranoid. This feeling of constant scrutiny and hyperconsciousness gives way to an extreme social rejection sensitivity, making youth culture online a space prone to both self-policing and the policing of others. There is an aspect of asymmetry when it comes to visibility on social media, as well as every time that you or I is viewing any one single person's profile, there could be dozens of people viewing ours all at the same time. Foucault believed people would learn the rules and effectively subjugate themselves for fear of punishment. The aim of this research was to study youth culture and slang in online spaces in relation to the self-consciousness that may have been amplified by the increased visibility of living in a digital panopticon. Over the course of my research, I observed the rise of the use of slang terms such as cringe and chalant as a reflection of this feeling that scrutiny both online and offline could lead to a generation of people less likely to take risks both socially and professionally. This would effectively stunt their own growth in favor of presenting a more nonchalant persona. As a communications major in the year 2025, I believe that understanding how and why people communicate the way that they do online is important. Since the COVID era of online school, professors have commented time and time again that classes are becoming more unwilling to participate in discussion, not to mention the amount of cameras that were never turned on over Zoom. Research into youth culture online shows us that one reason for this could be the culture of judgment and hyperconsciousness that exists on the internet. We should seek to remind ourselves that putting ourselves out there, both academically and personally, is a good and necessary thing, and that while the internet may be everywhere, it isn't everything.
Hello, my name is Miranda Macias, and my capstone project is based on technology co-creating romantic relationships. The theoretical framework that I utilized in this research paper was Robert Sternberg's triangular theory of love. Today, nearly everything in our lives is driven by technology, from work to communication, especially the way we've built relationships. As I was working on my topic for the Digital Lives capstone, I realized that the development of technology has impacted various aspects of life, especially romantic relationships in our digital lives. My research paper describes this shift pretty well, pointing out that romance was once based almost entirely on one-on-one craftsmanship, something slow, personal, and deeply human. But now technology is right in the middle of how people meet and connect. It really made me ask, what does love look like when we choose digital tools when becoming part of the relationship in itself? In accordance with my research, I ventured through both theories of love and the approach of dating in the digital world. In retrospect to Robert Sternberg's triangular theory, romantic relationships require three components: intimacy, passion, and commitment. So we're taking these age-old emotional needs and trying to satisfy them with new digital tools. The outlook of utilizing technological tools towards developing romantic relationships has had a great rate of usage. Masai magazine states that the usage of AI is dating has gone up by 333% since 2024. The usage of AI to shape their romance lives in ways like creating a profile, deciding on who to speak with, or writing messages, 26% of singles have admitted to engaging with AI. As a result, how does the development in our digital lives work towards romantic relationships? The results are apprehended to not replace the human connection, but to reshape it. And as my paper reads, technology co-creating romantic relationships from AI-assisted dating to virtual touch technologies, romance today is being co-created by humans and the digital tools we use every day. Understanding this shift empowers us to be more considerate in our choices about what we want our relationship to look like and how much we're willing to let technology into the most personal parts of our lives. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Luke Bowman, and my project is titled Digital Media's Impacts on Adolescents' Ability to Communicate Interpersonally. I've done studies from Elizabeth A. George, interviewed multiple students, and interviewed also multiple professors. Think about the last time you walked across a college campus. Did you see students talking, laughing, or hanging out in groups? When I asked around 50 students on my own campus what they do in between classes, almost 90% said they go to their cars and go on their phones or go to their next class and wait outside on their phones until the class starts. The spaces that used to be filled with connections are now filled with silence. And that's because we're connecting somewhere else, and that's through our phones. Today, nearly 80% of teens own a smartphone, starting at the ages of 10 years old. Instead of learning eye contact, tone, conversational skills, teens are learning to communicate through screens, shortcuts, emojis, and slang that change every few months. Words like wanna and gonna, and even viral nonsense phrases from TikTok are showing up in everyday conversations and even academic writing. But it's not just about the vocabulary, it's about the connection that we are missing. For example, within family communication, a text has replaced a doorway conversation. A like has replaced a check-in. When we communicate online, we sacrifice tone, depth, and nonverbal cues, the very things that make communication human. And for teens, this has a real consequence. Many I've interviewed told me that they get very anxious during interviews or during in-person conversations. Others avoid these interactions entirely because they are more comfortable communicating behind a screen, where they are able to edit the responses and avoid vulnerability. Even privacy. Every message, every photo, every online moment leaves a digital footprint in this society. We're losing all the small moments in our life, the smiles, the laughs, and also the hard moments. We're losing the skill of listening, and we can see this at all levels of schools. I know this because I felt this too. I have a hard time speaking in front of people and holding in-person conversations, as I've caught myself defaulting to texting instead of talking, and struggling to speak up in a group because online communication has become my comfort zone. So why does this matter? This matters because communication isn't just how we talk. It's about how we connect with one another on a personal level. Face-to-face communication helps you understand the person on a deeper level and lets you see their real emotions. And as someone who wants to be an educator in the future, I want teens to be able to rely on human connections rather than online forms. I do not think phones are going anywhere, but neither is the need for real conversation, real connection, and real presence. Thank you.
Los invitamos a una corta sesión de preguntas y respuestas.
We have time for a short Q&A. Please raise your hand and we'll pass the microphone.
Hi, everybody. My name's Kelsey. I'm the HCOM librarian. I'm so impressed with all of your final projects. They're amazing. Congratulations. My question is for Luke. Luke, I'm curious, in your research, did you come across any solutions for how we can bridge the gap for college students to have more interpersonal conversations with each other?
So it's actually a really complex situation because it's really up to the person individually of what they want to do. And it's a lot of people nowadays, they just don't want to interact in person, and it's hard to change the way a person wants to do things, and that's it's just hard. I mean, most people are just more comfortable on phones and it's becoming a lot more easier. Most people go the easier route for a lot of things, and it just happens that way. So
Hi, my question is for Miranda. So you mentioned that, was it 26% of young individuals use AI in their like communications? Could you kind of explain a little bit more how they use it and why they're turning to AI?
Yeah, so 26% of singles have chosen to rely on AI. The way that they utilize AI is in communication basis. So it could start with initiating conversations so that they are afraid of how they could be perceived when they are making the first move. They do choose to go with AI to craft a sentence or just an approach for an individual. They also utilize AI to formulate their accounts. So in this case, I looked into Tinder, and a lot of singles do choose to get AI to craft their account to seem more approachable or intrigued.
Can I ask a follow-up? So are they also using it to create images of themselves?
At times, there was a research that was done that made it seem that people were using AI, in this case, to Photoshop or to emphasize on some sort of part of themselves to make themselves look much appealing.
Congratulations to all of you. Really proud to hear the insights that you came to in your research. And it gives me hope because even as you confess to being part of this generation that finds technology very appealing, you still have a deep awareness about what it's taking away from us. And I really hope that you will maintain that awareness and use it to help others as you go forward. My question is for Katie. Katie, you mentioned how this particular aesthetic, first of all, has been appropriated, but then also leveraged to exclude. And I'm wondering what patterns of exclusion you observed in the online discourse. Is it explicit? Is it implicit? Do you have a couple of examples to share to illustrate that?
So the patterns I noticed were that these physical styles, the hairstyles, for example, it's like these hairstyles in the aesthetic were being championed by these white creators as if they were the first to discover them, right? And that I think in style, since it's such a personal thing, to act like something you're wearing is just yours and not recognize the history of it creates an exclusionary environment because it like instead of referencing the many celebrities and like characters in films or other media where where that hairstyle of a slick back bun and gold hoops has been observed in many classic films about women in the Latina community or Black community. Instead of giving credit to those women, it's like being treated as something that's been like just some new creation. I think that's very exclusionary. Another element I noticed in the content was that this clean girl style was also present amongst products and lifestyle qualities that are only accessible to the very like wealthy or such as like organic food and expensive exercise classes. And so when we align those things with the concept of something being clean, I think that's especially problematic because like who is one group of people to tell another that they're not clean and that they're not part of something. So that's what I observed. Thank you.
Do we have any more questions? We do.
I wanted to echo that these were all very excellent presentations, very impressive. My question is for Yvette. I was wondering, you brought up this very important and interesting topic about violence against women, which we know is not something that is new to the digital age, but I think it's really important to think about what it looks like in this like moment where technology is so pervasive. And I was just wondering if you could speak a little bit to like what are the kind of specific or unique challenges or forms of abuse that we see with digital technology? You mentioned things like doxing, et cetera, but like what makes it unique and perhaps challenging to address compared to other forms of violence?
Yes, so to answer your question, I feel like the most difficult thing that, like the challenges that we come across when you're dealing with cyber harassment is that it's not essentially like talked about as much. I feel like women are kind of like in on their own. They kind of have to fend for themselves, or like resources are not really available to us as much as it would be for like a domestic violence abuse or like different types of abuse that women have endured. But also another challenge is like you're kind of like they don't take it serious. It's kind of like, oh, just brush it off or block him or delete him. But essentially, like it keeps happening and it keeps happening until there's not much you can do until you kind of like take legal action. But even legal action is not enough. So yeah, those are the biggest challenges.
Now, we would like to introduce and bring up the second round of presenters. Thank you to the first group.
Ahora la siguiente ronda de presentaciones.
Now we'll start the next round of presentations. Give them a minute to gather themselves. And we would like to welcome to the stage Jesse Gillespie.
Vamos a darle la bienvenida a Jessie Caliste.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jesse Gillespie, and my research is titled Fahrenheit 451 Parallels to 2025 Digital Censorship. Imagine living in a society where fire is used to control and erase freedom. In Fahrenheit 451, fire becomes a tool to cleanse anything that might offend or challenge societal views. When I began this project, I realized that although no books are physically being burned, the warnings Bradbury gives illuminates parallels in our world today. The main question guiding my research has been, how can the key warnings in Fahrenheit 451 help us reflect on modern censorship in our digital lives? To explore this, I focused on Bradbury's themes of censorship, elimination of data, conformity, and self-censorship, concepts that shape both the novel and our world today. I also used John Stuart Mill's Marketplace of Ideas as a theoretical lens. Mills believed that silencing any opinion robs society of truth and that diverse, even uncomfortable ideas must exist so we can think critically. What I found is that Bradbury's dystopia is not as distant as it seems. Social media platforms create echo chambers where people only encounter information that mirrors their own beliefs. Governments and corporations quietly remove or alter data, shaping the narratives people are allowed to see. For example, DEI, the DEI ban, and data removal of climate change on government websites. And just like in the novel, censorship becomes a survival mechanism. Individuals and institutions silence themselves to avoid backlash or pressure from authority. But Fahrenheit 451 also shows us resistance. The book people preserve knowledge in the shadows, refusing to let truth disappear. Today, resistance looks like preserving data, encouraging public debate, teaching critical thinking, and supporting independent journalism. The main takeaway is this: Bradbury warned us not about just burning books, but about the dangers of forgetting, becoming passive, unquestioning, and obedient. In our 2025 world, where information can vanish with a click, the most powerful act we can take is to keep asking questions, keep seeking diverse perspectives, and protect our freedom to express ourselves. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bianca Bonano, and my project was on TikTok's algorithm, titled TikTok's Algorithm and the War for Attention. So what started as an app that let users upload funny 2-minute dancing videos has evolved into a behemoth made of a mix of fake news, political content, educational videos, and ads. Ultimately, because of this, it has made itself a target for the US government not to ban it anymore, but to buy it. Because TikTok has now become both an extractable resource for the US government and with the right tweaking of the algorithm, a perfect propaganda machine. So I examined TikTok's algorithm and described the ways that it's had a hand in polarizing users in the US with its hyper-specific recommendations, how this operation system can lead to falling for misinformation, the power that TikTok has, and why it is now in a constant battle of what country is going to own it. This analysis includes 2 case studies of content on TikTok, one being the ongoing 75-year conflict in Gaza, and the second being the presidential election of 2024. During the height of this most recent occurrence of violence in Gaza, TikTok blew up with videos of on-the-ground reporting. Its graphic images and videos spread like wildfire. The videos were touted as lies, AI, and fake news by the Israeli government, who fought back with their own constant stream of carefully curated and trendy videos. Then Senator Mitt Romney commented on an event with Secretary of State Antony Blinken that we had to get rid of TikTok because the Israelis, who are usually so good at PR, are losing the battle there. With this constant tug of war of videos tugging us back and forth, who are we to believe? The presidential election of 2024 was another huge event that took off on TikTok. This was a fascinating case study, seeing in real time how politicians fought for TikTok users' attention, their teams posting videos disparaging their opponents or heavily edited ones with trending audios, much like how the general public uses the app. Major politicians using an app they were trying to actively ban was ironic and shows how influential this app was, quickly becoming in this presidential election. Throughout my research, I learned that algorithms learn what keeps our attention and how this has now become a resource, with us having little say as to who has access to it. I learned that our attention is no longer ours. It has become something tangible in a sense, something that can be taken, harvested, and used against us. It's not enough to get our attention. We have to pay attention to the right things. During times of political tension, this is especially nefarious because content doesn't matter anymore. The time you spend watching a video does. Keeping our attention at whatever cost is the new norm. Algorithms don't care that if we are watching feeds our biases, if we are being fed misinformation, or if we are genuinely watching lies and fake news. As long as we stay on their app, feeding their software machine with our attention, they're fine with it. Thank you.
Freedom is the freedom to say that 2 + 2 makes 4. If that is granted, all else follows. George Orwell, page 79. Hi, my name is Alexandra Molinari, and the title of my senior capstone project is Fostering Critical Thinking in the English Classroom, reading 1984 and 2025, as you can see. In a world where technology is advancing at incomprehensible rates, where the freedom of speech has been tarnished and molded by those with closed and uninclusive minds, where we are watching utilitarian dystopian novels come to life right in front of us, it's the job of future educators, like myself, to notice the similarities between fact and fiction and pick out digestible portions for high school students to analyze and dissect. While studying a novel about a dystopian society where education's main goal is to conform its students to a narrow way of thinking, where propaganda is prevalent and individuality is non-existent, by guiding literary analysis, teachers can emphasize the importance and privilege that is education, and not only that, but the crucial ability to think critically. Through research on how to sensitively and effectively have constructive political conversations in class, because if 1984 by George Orwell is one thing, it's political, we can curate safe and comfortable environments for students to engage with one another and broaden their academic horizons. As someone who has taken the countless literature classes that are required for not only Gen Ed throughout college, but specifically for the English subject matter prep pathway for future teachers, it isn't how to teach the dissection of the novel that I needed to research, as I've been studying and practicing how to do that for the last 4.5 years, but it was how to properly teach this type of content in today's political climate. Vice Provost of Graduate Studies at UC Berkeley, in a panel titled How to Have Political Conversations in the Classroom, said it best. I try to make it clear that there is no such thing as objectivity or right answer, that the issue we're grappling with are actually quite complex, and that I feel like my goal is to teach them how to work through their own biases and their own processes through the class. And so I'm not only teaching them the course material, but I'm really teaching them how to be active thinkers and consumers of material and information relevant to politics. So while my project focuses on the intense themes of propaganda and the editing of history, in both the setting of the novel and the real world as we witness it today, A heavy portion of this written essay is centered around how to make the learning experience not only comfortable, but effective. On page 200 of 1984, one of the antagonists, when speaking about the population, says, "They can be granted intellectual liberty because they have no intellect." It's the job of teachers, like the incredible professors here at CSUMB, and future teachers like myself and my wonderful peers here in the ESMP program to make sure that we foster the youth of today and the future to reach their fullest potential and always seek knowledge, because we each deserve to take full advantage of our intellectual liberty. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gianna Grammatico, and my project is titled In Defense of Reading Novels, Nurturing Empathy in Times of Social Media. In 2025, the Palisades Fire broke out in Los Angeles, and many of the victims who lost their homes took to social media to share their story. Many people posted TikTok videos of their homes going up in flames, themselves crying as their home lay in ruin, and all of the memories associated with that home lay in ruin. However, the comments on these social media posts reveal a shocking lack of empathy for someone who has experienced a tragedy. Many comments read, "No one cares about you, you're rich, you'll be fine," which are shockingly lacking in empathy. These comments reveal a frightening trend that has also been backed up by research. Empathy on the whole is declining, and social media has played a role in empathy's decline. This drove my research question. How does social media impact empathy, and what specific functions of social media contribute to its empathy diminishing capabilities? In my research, I juxtaposed social media with literary fiction to prove that it's an antithesis to the diminishing qualities of social media, and that it's more effective for the cultivation of empathy. In my research, I used the theory of confirmation bias to prove that social media decreases empathy because of its algorithmic properties that lock people in echo chambers. Because people only engage with content that feeds their existing beliefs, social media becomes ineffective at promoting a specific facet of empathy called theory of mind empathy, or seeing something from another person's point of view. I suggest that social media's short forms also contribute, as a 30-second video isn't enough to cultivate cognitive theory of mind empathy. This is where I suggest literary fiction outscores social media in its empathic abilities. A 200-page novel that you spend hours reading forms a stronger connection with the character, and you have more background information about the character, so there's a higher likelihood that you'll empathize with them. Long-form content fosters engagement with an alternative point of view for much longer. In my paper, I used the example of Catcher in the Rye and the character of Holden Caulfield to explain that even if you don't agree with the worldview of the seemingly unlikable and unreliable narrator, that one can still develop empathy for him over the course of a 200-page novel. Whereas if you were on social media, perhaps many people would simply swipe past him in a mere 30 seconds without shedding an ounce of empathy. The issue becomes people spend hours daily on social media, and the average American only reads one book per year. Thus, my call to action is to escape social media's echo chamber and pick up a work of literary fiction, a work that allows for real, sustained engagement with a long-form text that encourages you to engage with a point of view that you may not like. Perhaps then we can mitigate the empathy crisis that exists on social media. Thank you.
Ahora abrimos la sección de preguntas y respuestas para este grupo de estudiantes.
We welcome students to a short Q&A section. Again, we'll pass the microphone for your questions.
Thank you, everyone, for your wonderful presentations. I have a question for Jesse. So in your research, you distinguished self-censorship and what seemed like to me structural, institutional, systemic censorship, right? So between those two, which one do you think is more problematic for users of social media?
I believe self-censorship is more problematic. Institution censorship is also a huge problem, such as the Jimmy Kimmel example in my paper. But self-censorship can apply to a wide variety of anyone on social media. Usually, if they feel that there's some kind of criticism, then they'll revert to self-censorship to avoid any conflict or anything. So.
This is a question for Alexandra and anybody else here who's interested in being an educator. A lot of these presentations talked about the dangers of social media and the internet and really tearing people apart and into their own silos and everything. As a future educator, what do you think educators have to do differently in order to get folks off that track?
Oh, goodness. Well, I think the biggest thing that I witnessed that didn't work when I was especially in high school, as that's the grade I want to be in, I think educators need to take an approach that's different than fighting technology, because while we might not all want to fully embrace it, I know I'm going to have a very difficult time with my students using AI, as I really don't agree with it. But I've noticed that when there is a less negative attitude, even if we don't support the use of AI and ChatGPT, if we encourage students to think on their own and we really show how grateful we are and we encourage, even when they make mistakes and even when there's grammar errors and maybe they spelled something wrong, I still do the date wrong on most of my papers because I know it's supposed to be month, day, year. I still do day, month, year. Or maybe it's the other way around. But things like that shouldn't necessarily be, the big red X on all the papers. I think we really need to support students' personal growth and learning, even with the small achievements. And so I think that's going to hopefully combat all of that. So thank you for your question.
Hi, everyone. It's really good to see you. I see some of my students there. This is Dr. Z. And my question is more of political economy. It's linked, to economics. And this question is for all of you. So how can we mitigate social media violence, algorithmic violence and oppression, and the lack of empathy that y'all talk about, and even the lack of critical thinking, if all these things, like meaning algorithmic violence, the lack of empathy, and the lack of critical thinking skills is $1 billion business? All those things that y'all talked about, they're making billions and billions of dollars. How can we mitigate those things if at the same time they are like economically profitable and very profitable?
Yeah, you're so right that these social media companies are such huge companies and it's like a huge business for them. And they're really profiting like off our harm of our attention and our empathy. Those are things that they're profiting off of. So, I mean, it's really hard to mitigate that aspect of it, and it's hard to mitigate our usage of social media. Obviously, I think the suggestion that I would give, as I gave in my presentation, would just be to use it less. But obviously, it's such a difficult thing when there are these algorithms that are feeding us differing point of views or point of views that feed what we believe. So it's really hard to just pull ourselves away from them, and they're profiting off of our attention. So the way these social media companies have structured these algorithms are all for their profit, and we can't stop them from doing that. It's just impossible. So it really comes down to the individual to monitor their own social media use and to step away from it. And as I suggested, spend more time engaging with content that's not on a social media platform, like long form print fiction, as I mentioned. So yeah, it's really up to the individual to come up with their own choice when stepping away from the social media platform. Thank you.
If there's no more questions.
Muchas gracias a todos los que participaron en el panel. Y ahora damos paso a la sección online de Capstone que explora el tema poder, privilegio y lugar bajo la supervisión de la doctora Kelly Medina López.
And now we turn to the online section of Capstone that explored the theme Power, Privilege, and Place, led by Dr. Kelly Medina Lopez.
Hi, I'm Professor Kelly Medina Lopez, and this semester in my HCOM Senior Capstone course, my students and I explored the theme Power, Privilege, Place. Across the semester, we engaged in student-led seminars that examined how power operates in everyday life. through systems, institutions, identities, and lived experiences. Our conversations trace themes ranging from age and mental health to geography and opportunity, personal intersectionality, and many meaningful points in between. Along the way, we did what learning communities do best. We questioned, we challenged, we supported each other, we laughed, we cried, we built a shared playlist, and we collected quotes that captured the spirit of our time together. The projects you're about to see represent the culminating work of the students in this section, work that is deeply researched, thoughtfully creative, and grounded in both theory and place. This first set of videos examines how power and inequality take shape across a range of contexts, including structural inequality in Monterey County, anime and activism as a site of political meaning making, hip hop pedagogies and cultural resistance, code switching in power in professional spaces, and environmental redlining and its lasting impact on communities. Together, these projects invite us to think critically about how systems of power are produced, challenged, and reimagined, and how place matters in all of it. I invite you to watch, reflect, and listen closely to the stories these students are telling. Let's begin.
Hello, my name is Peyton Akins. I'm a humanities and communications major with a legal studies concentration. My capstone project is the research essay option, and I titled it Breathing Unequal Air. My project examines environmental and nutritional inequities within Monterey County, specifically focusing on the contrast between the cities of Salinas and Monterey. I focus on differences in air quality, exposure, and access to healthy food between Monterey and Salinas. During my cities, I found that structural factors like zoning, policy decisions, and geography play a major role in determining who is exposed to environmental health risk. This matters because these patterns create large health disparities and they're largely preventable. Through this project, I examine how deeply policy and power shape everyday health experiences through three theoretical lenses. And I hope the audience reflects on environmental justice as both a public health and equity issue. Thank you.
Hey, Miss Barista. Hello, everyone. My name is Nicole Anastasia, and my capstone project is titled Anime to Activism, the Straw Hat Jolly Roger as a Global Symbol of Revolution and Resistance. My project examines how and why the Straw Hat Jolly Roger from the popular anime and manga One Piece is being used as a symbol of revolution and resistance, focusing on the intersections of power, privilege, and global protest movements. During my research, I found that the symbol's rise in protest usage is rooted in its association with anti-authoritarian values, wealth inequality, and its ability to resonate across cultures and through shared political struggles. This is important because it shows how popular culture can influence real-world resistance, shaping the visual and collective identity of contemporary movements around the world. Through this project, I learned how to critically analyze media, power structures, and global contexts, and I hope the audience considers how symbols from popular culture can become catalysts for awareness, solidarity, and change. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Celeste Casella, and my capstone project is called Verses and Voice, Reclaiming Academic Spaces Through Hip Hop Literacies. My project focuses primarily on music integration, specifically hip hop, within the context of English learning and focuses mostly on pedagogical practices. I found that teaching students using music that really connects to them and their everyday lives is crucial in creating long-lasting learning and effective learning. This matters a lot to me because everyone should feel welcome, seen, and appreciated in the classroom. I definitely learned a lot about myself while completing this project, and I hope to integrate a lot of these practices into my classroom one day. Thank you so much.
Thought I found a way.
Hi, my name is Jonah Coyaso, and my capstone project is titled Speaking to Be Heard, Code Switching in Workplace Power. I'm a human communications major with a concentration in communication studies. My project examines how people, especially multilingual speakers and marginalized groups, change the way they speak in professional settings. This practice, known as code switching, involves adjusting language or tone to appear more professional and acceptable at work. My research shows that code switching is often a survival strategy. Many people feel pressure to avoid stereotypes, prove competence, and gain respect, which can be emotionally exhausting and reinforce workplace power imbalances. Although multilingual speakers have strong communication skills, workplaces often value only one way of speaking. This project highlights how language affects belonging, opportunity, and voice, and why workplaces must value diverse ways of speaking rather than forcing people to adapt. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kevin Covarrubias Wu, and my capstone project is titled Bridging Communication and Business: Privilege in Places, Role, and Access to Graduate Education. My project examines how access to these MBA programs is shaped by combined forces of both privilege and place, focusing specifically on the educational divide between the Salinas Valley and Monterey Peninsula. During my research, I have found that factors such as financial stability, cultural capital, and geographic location play a major role in determining who feels prepared and able to pursue graduate education. This is important because we see these structural inequities often get mistaken for personal shortcomings, when in reality they limit opportunities for first generation and working class students long before they even apply. Through this project, I learned to recognize how my own background shapes my educational path and how I hope that the audience considers how institutions like CSULB or CSUMB can continue to design MBA programs that expand access, honor live experiences, and support students who have historically been excluded from these spaces. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Maxfield English, and my capstone is reintroducing redlining, environmental impacts, and racial institutions. My project consists of multiple articles looking at different examples of urban development, examining how often the racial background of a county can affect what planners are able to get away with. During my project, I found that between three communities, one predominantly white and the others mostly Black and Latino, that the largely minority counties had more relaxed environmental legislation around data centers, a key construction I reviewed. This shows that there are still counties willing to save money by harming the marginalized. This project taught me that we still have civil rights to review, and I hope we can create more contextualized laws in the future. Thank you.
Welcome back. In this next set of projects, students turn inwards and outward at the same time, examining how identity, memory, and place shape the stories we tell and the lives we live. These pieces explore generational trauma and intersectionality through creative nonfiction, Asian American identity and migration, and the ways that memory and resilience travel across generations. You'll also see projects that reflect on expressivist pedagogies, zip code inequality, local media in Monterey County, and teaching practices that make space for stories that matter. Together, these projects remind us that lived experience is not supplemental to learning, it is the curriculum. Let's continue with the next set.
Hi, my name is Yaki Flores, and my creative project is titled Mosaic Butterfly with a Butcher Tongue. My project is a combination of short stories and poetry collections exploring intersectionality and generational trauma through the lens of a first-gen non-binary Latin lesbian with immigrant parents. I wanted to express generational trauma and intersectionality using personal narrative writing to convey the experience of growing up in America through my personal lens. Here is a brief glimpse. The tongue they gave my sister looked like theirs, and they found their tongue wasn't a tongue that could benefit her. It was made of different soil, different pronunciation. Flowers they wanted to grow couldn't grow here. Or at least that's what they were told and made to believe. This project taught me taking control of my own narrative is a form of social justice, and I hope it invites more conversations on the impacts generational trauma has on one's identity and provides comfort to those that have similar experiences as me. Thank you.
Moved out to a new city.
Hi, my name is Elijah Garza, and my creative project is titled Echoes of Struggle, a collection of poems and short writings exploring the Asian American experience. My approach blended personal reflection with community stories. I drew inspiration from writers like Kathy Park Hong, studying themes of language, displacement, and survival. Through writing, revising, and researching, each piece found its own voice. In Raindrops, I explored the child who becomes the bridge between generations. In Double the Rocks, I write about the tension and pride of being Filipino American. This project has taught me how deeply culture, education, and memory shape identity. My hope is that audiences take Asian American stories seriously, to listen, to understand, and to feel the emotional weight behind them. Echoes of Struggle is a reminder that the stories that we inherit aren't burdens, they're bridges.
Hi, my name is Jessica Foreman, and my capstone project is called Expressivist Pedagogies in an English Classroom, Enhancing Engagement and Personal Identity. Within my paper, I explore the idea of applying the expressivist pedagogy into the classroom and how using this practice will allow students to feel more included and heard in a classroom, while also improving reading and writing comprehension. In short, expressivist pedagogy is the idea of allowing a group of people to use personal expression in their writing as well as other classroom-based activities, as opposed to a more traditional approach. Therefore, this creates more bold and personal pieces coming out of the classroom. While researching, I found that a lot of teachers and authors agree that expressivism in the classroom works really well. Students feel more open to share their thoughts and opinions on what they are reading and writing, and that really shows that they are comprehending the text and activities they're working with. This is important for a modern classroom and can be applied in a lot of different ways. I learned that this method meets all the California state standards if done correctly, and that a lot of teachers use this method without even realizing it. As a future teacher, I really enjoyed researching this topic, and I intend to use this information in my career. Thank you.
My name is Alyssa, and my capstone project is titled The Geography of Opportunity: How Zip Code Inequality Shapes Educational Access and Outcomes in the United States. My project examines how the zip code of where a student lives directly affects the funding, resources, and overall quality of their school. During my research, I found that a student's zip code strongly influences the resources their school is given, which directly affects both the quality of education and academic success. This is important because unequal opportunity in school reinforces the cycle of poverty that limits the potential of communities. Through this project, I learned how to analyze complex data and understand the systemic factors that shape our unequal educational opportunities. And I hope that the audience considers how we as communities can work together to reduce these inequalities.
My name is Natalie Macias, and my concentration is Journalism Media Studies, and my creative project is titled Media in Monterey. My capstone project is a creative project highlighting media in Monterey through a journalistic perspective. I want to express creativity using techniques that journalists use to convey the idea to come to life and share with people to express that information. Here is a brief glimpse. Journalism is a news story told in writing or in reporting visually. There is more to the story on how journalism starts. First and importantly is finding a story to report and cover through. Then through research and background to compel a story, writing a draft which takes a process to ensure all details are contributed accurately and proofed by an editor. It is all a work of art being made to be perfected even if it's not 100%. Journalism seeks to provide accurate truth and provide that truth to the people. This project taught me how to be creative and create my own journalistic piece, and I hope it invites attention to tune into the news and hear stories you never know how it can change your life. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ryan Martinez, and my capstone project is titled Making Space for Stories That Matter: Empowering Student Expression in the Classroom. My project explores hindrances to students within the context of English learning, focusing on using expressivist and critical pedagogies to guide instruction and enhance student expression. I found that centering student voice in the classroom can support students facing adversity and help them deepen connections to their learning. This matters because if students cannot reflectively see themselves in the literature often perpetuated through outdated curriculum, then they will fall victim to believing their stories are not valid in an academic setting and that their voices should not appear in their writing practices, which is just not true. I learned that there are many ways to support students in the classroom and that teaching is not a one-size-fits-all practice. It takes adaptation and flexibility. And I hope all educators can come to this realization with me so we can start teaching in ways that benefit those who need it most, the students. Thank you.
In this next set of projects, our focus turns to the ways power and privilege shape lives at deeply personal and structural levels. These students explore everything from child exploitation in contemporary media to the realities of single motherhood and college success, identity and identity and educational outcomes right here at CSUMB. You'll also see projects that examine active listening as a classroom pedagogy and one unforgettable mic drop moment from what might just be the most dangerous woman in the world. Together, these projects challenge us to listen more carefully, question more broadly, and recognize the stories that too often go unheard. Let's take a look.
I'm sorry if I seem uninterested.
Hi, my name is Kayla, and my creative project is titled Lies, Cameras, and Exploitation, Twisted Truth Behind Children in Media and Entertainment. It's an informative guide exploring how current laws and policies fail to provide complete protection for children in media and entertainment, more specifically child influencers. I use research, case studies, and analysis to illustrate how and why children in media are often being exploited for content. And here's a glimpse of what you will find. I learned that there's a huge gap in regulations for children in media and entertainment. Laws and policies need to keep up with the growing media industry, so I hope my guide serves as a reality check, bringing awareness to what children in media and entertainment have to endure. Thank you.
The most dangerous woman you will ever meet is the one who healed alone. I'm not talking about anger, revenge, or chaos. I'm talking about a woman who was broken by life and chose to rebuild herself. This is the woman who walked through moments that stripped her to her core.
Hi, my name is Jacet Olmedo Perez, and my capstone project is titled Balancing Books and Babies, Single Mothers Navigating College Success. My project examines the experiences of parenting students at California State University in Monterey Bay, focusing on whether the university's programs and resources truly meet the needs of single mothers pursuing higher education. During my research, I did find that many parenting students are unaware of the financial, physical, and academic support available to them, including essential resources like the Basic Needs Hub, childcare services, and lactation rooms, and many other more resources that the university does provide. This is important because a lack of awareness prevents student parents from accessing support that could ease their financial stress, improve academic success, and make balancing school and parenting more manageable. Through this project, I learned the importance of seeking help, advocating for student parents, and understanding the challenges faced by student parents like myself. I hope the audience considers how universities can better promote their resources and expand their support for parenting students to ensure their success. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Austin Pozos, and my capstone project is titled Degrees of Inequity: How Identity Shapes Education Outcomes at CSUMB. My project examines how educational experience faced by female identifying students from the African diaspora influence their graduation outcomes, and it proposes legal and policy interventions to promote equity. Focusing on why the representation of women from the African diaspora is such a low percentage of CSUMB's attendance and the graduation rates causes alarms when the student body is mostly female identifying. During my research, I found people of African descent with any intersectionality face higher rates of discrimination than other races with said intersectionality because of the color of their skin. It is important to understand as time evolves, people evolve, policies need to develop as well. Having a blanket system for all people is not appropriate because different groups of people experience life differently. Through this project, I learned how important policy making is and how important it is to ensure policies are being enforced. I hope the audience considers how important their privilege is in systems and how it affects others,
and how they can be a part of a culture shift that ensures equality for all.
Hello, my name is Noah Roberts, and my capstone project is titled Reclaiming Voice Through Active Listening. My project explores the idea of active listening within the context of English teaching, focusing on how it can be used to disrupt the dominant societal hierarchies found in the classroom. I found that with active listening, it can support both students and teachers by helping students better understand one another and the diverse perspectives found in the classroom, and by assisting teachers in understanding their students' questions, concerns, and feedback in a more diverse environment. This matters because when used properly, it can help build trust, validate diverse perspectives, and make sure that students feel seen and heard. I learned that when we take the time to listen to one another, it creates an environment where students want to learn and participate. And I hope educators can start using active listening as a tool to create a more diverse environment where everyone's voices matter. Thank you very much.
For our final set of projects, we turn towards some of the biggest questions we can ask about power privilege and whose voices get heard. These pieces examine ideological conflict and what it reveals about human nature, the role of community care and grassroots power in the Bay Area, and how power and privilege operate within the American literary canon itself. We close with a historical and contemporary explanation of the erasure of women's voices and contributions, asking not only what has been left out, but why and what it means to bring those stories back into view. Together, these projects remind us that stories are never neutral and that reclaiming them is an act of both scholarship and care.
Hi, my name is Sarah Souza, and my project is called Ideological Conflict in Human Societies. I researched ideological conflict, specifically focusing on the many layers of society it exists in. Through this, I discovered that ideological conflict is innate and something us as humans will not be able to solve or get rid of. This matters because ideological conflict is inseparable from power, leaving those in power to hold a key part in enforcing their ideologies across society. Not only that, but ideological conflict is also deeply rooted in human psychology and social behavior. I learned that as long as power and privilege exist, ideological conflict will continue to coexist, if not grow, and that equality in society is not achievable. Thank you.
Keep your heart, 3 stacks. Keep your heart. Hey, keep your heart, 3 stacks. Keep your.
Hi, my name is Anna Thompson, and my creative project is titled Community Care, Grassroots Power in the Bay Area. My project is a video documentary exploring Bay Area organizations that support marginalized communities, focusing on unhoused and food insecure individuals. I wanted to express the importance of local organizations using personal interviews and on-site documentation to convey how community-led care fills the gaps left by government inaction. My mom, who runs an organization called Food Pantry in Berkeley, shared with me during an interview that the city of Berkeley no longer allows encampments. She pointed out that an encampment called Where Do We Go stemmed from this action and emphasized that we have to remember that we are dealing with human beings. This project taught me that community care provides critical resources that many systems fail to offer, and I hope it invites viewers to recognize the power we have to uplift one another. Thank you.
Kids in Gaza are bombed and I'm just out of it. No tensions are the world.
Hello, my name is Rose Tyler, and my concentration is English. My capstone project is titled Visibility and Voice, Power, Privilege, and Belonging in the American Literary Canon. My project examines the American literary canon, focusing on how it hinders or cultivates belonging through power and privilege. During my research, I found that publishers play a key role in the canon because books that are published traditionally are more widely circulated. This is important because it increases accessibility, determining what literature is being consumed and therefore more likely to become part of the canon. Through this project, I've learned to think more critically about the literature that I personally consider valuable and how I can continue to expand the diversity of my bookshelf. And I hope that the audience will do the same. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brittany Williams, and my capstone project is
Gaslighting History: How Women's Contributions Are Erased and Rewritten. I began this work trying to understand why women's rights are being rolled back in plain sight. And I realized it follows the same pattern that has erased women for generations. Women have been pushed out of the historical record, their achievements rewritten or handed over to men. And that logic is still at work today. It shows up in the federal websites that have quietly been removing women's accomplishments in the political efforts to force women back into outdated roles, and in the global crisis of femicide. The violence is loud and the erasure is deliberate. This project made one thing very clear. Erasure is not accidental, it is strategic. And the fight for women's rights and women's history has always been the same fight. Thank you.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us. To my students, thank you for your courage, your creativity, and your trust. These projects reflect who you are, where you come from, and what you care deeply about. And to the families, friends, mentors, and loved ones who supported these projects along the way, thank you. Your encouragement, patience, and belief made this work possible. We hope these stories stay with you, spark conversation, and remind us all of power, voice, community, and shared experience.
Muchas gracias a todos los estudiantes que hoy han presentado sus trabajos. Y ahora damos la bienvenida a los profesores de Humanidades y Comunicación al escenario para felicitar a los estudiantes.
Thank you so much to all of the students presenting today. At this time, we would like to welcome the HCOM faculty to come to the stage.
Las profesoras de Capstone, Estela Porras y Kelly Medina López, reconocerán a sus alumnos con sus certificados. Comenzaremos con la doctora Medina López.
Next, the Capstone professors, Dr. Estela Porras and Kelly Medina Lopez, will recognize their classes. We will begin with Dr. Medina Lopez.
Hey there, everyone. I'm so glad to see you all here. I'm Professor Kelly Medina Lopez, and I have the absolute joy of introducing the students from my HCOM Senior Capstone class. This semester, these students took on big questions about power, privilege, and place, and then somehow made them even bigger, braver, and more human. They explored identity, inequality, media, memory, community, and care, all while showing up for one another with humor, honesty, and a whole lot of heart. I've laughed with them, cried with them, learned from them, and yes, definitely been humbled by just how insightful and thoughtful they are. These projects are not just assignments, they're deeply personal, critically researched, and rooted in stories that truly matter. To the families, friends, mentors, and supporters here today, thank you for standing behind these incredible humans. And to my students, I'm endlessly proud of you. It's been an honor to witness your growth and celebrate this moment with you. So with that, it's my privilege to begin recognizing our Capstone students and awarding their Capstone certificates. I'm going to go ahead and start with my very first student this semester on my list, which is Miss Peyton Akins. Peyton! And we'll just say that a lot of us are here in the Zoom, so everybody can celebrate the Zoom students that are here, and we're celebrating on the Zoom, don't worry. So Peyton is here, and congratulations, Peyton. Next up, I have Nicole Anastasio. Nicole, congratulations, Nicole. Yes, absolutely, celebration. Next, we have Celeste Casella. Celeste. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Hopefully you can all see the celebrations happening here. We have next Giovanna Collaso. Giovanna. Yes, love for Giovanna. We have next Kevin Covarrubias Wu. Kevin. Quick note about Kevin, he got into the MBA program here at CSUMB, so we haven't seen the last of Kevin. Up next will be Maxfield English. Max. Yes, let's show some love for Max. Love it, everybody. Followed by Yaki Flores. Yaki, let's show some love to Yaki. It's great. All right. After Yaki, we have Elijah Garza. Lovely. Up next is Jessica Gorman. Hooray. Okay, next we have Alyssa La Calamita. Alyssa. Lovely. Followed by Natalie Macias. Natalie. Okay. Up after Natalie is Ryan Martinez. Ryan. Celebrate Ryan. Okay, after Ryan, we have Kayla Mead. Ray. I love it. After Kayla, we have Adina Mora, potentially the most dangerous woman in the world. Awesome. After Adina, we have Brennan Mornenweg. Wonderful. Followed by Jacet Olmedo Perez. Lovely. After Jacet, we have Austin Pozos. Hooray. Followed by Noah Roberts. After Noah, we have Kayla Rose Leperini. After Kayla, we have Sarah Souza. After Sarah, we have Anna Thompson. Followed by Rose Tyler. Last on our list is Brittany Williams. Y'all are outstanding and amazing. Thank you all for your wonderful research and a lovely, lovely semester. I think I now pass it over to mi colega Estela Porras.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Kelly, and everyone. And now our session is a group of students that explored our digital lives. So we have here, I'm so happy to give the certificate to Bianca Avedaño. Bianca. Thank you. Good job. Thank you. And the next person is Catherine Bitter. Catherine. Oh, thank you. Good, good, good. And now we have actually Luke Bowman is not only here, his family is following on Zoom, and the parents are teachers and they're showing the presentation to the whole classroom. So we have a lot of online a crowd with him. So Luke, congratulations. Really good job. Next person is Darcy Evans. Darcy. And now we have Jessie Galiste. Jessie.
You click to the next slide.
The next slide. Next slide. Next slide. This is the next slide. This is our photo. A goofy photo there. So, next person is Jana Gramarico. Jana. Excellent job. And now let's welcome Miranda Macias Ortiz. Miranda.
Hello. Thank you.
Alex Martinez is not here. So we have Leslie Pacheco Sanchez. Leslie.
Thank you for everything.
And here it is. You say hello to the faculty and then we have our MC en español, Yvette Ponce. Well, we have Eric Romero. He couldn't come here, but we'll make sure that he gets the certificate. And then we have Alexandra Molinari. Alexandra.
Sandra. Thank you.
I think I'm not missing anyone. So thank you, everyone, parents, faculty, students, for all your work. And okay, so now closing. We have the MC right here for the closing.
Gracias a todos por asistir al Festival de Capstone del Departamento de Humanidades y Comunicación Otoño de 2025. Esperamos que se hayan disfrutado de las presentaciones.
Thank you everyone for coming to the Department of Humanities and Communication Fall 2025 Capstone Festival. We hope that you enjoyed the presentations.
Queremos agradecer al personal y a los profesores de la Escuela de Humanidades y Comunicación, en especial a los profesores de Capstone, Kelly Medina López y Estela Porras, por inspirarnos y guiarnos en nuestro trayecto.
We'd like to thank the staff and faculty of the Department of Humanities and Communication, and particularly to the Capstone professors, Dr. Estela Porras and Dr. Kelly Medina Lopez, for inspiring and guiding us through this journey.
Finalmente, se les agradece a los estudiantes de Capstone y al personal de apoyo, Wendy Rutledge, Natalia Carbonell y Yvonne Gillette, quienes han dedicado mucho tiempo y esfuerzo para preparar este evento.
And last, we'd like to thank the Capstone students, presenters, and HCON staff, Wendy Rutledge, Natalie Carbonell, and Yvette Gillette, who have devoted much time and effort in preparation for the Capstone Festival.
Gracias por acompañarnos. Esperemos que disfruten las fiestas diciembras.
Thank you for joining us and have a beautiful rest of your holiday.